Whoa. Good morning. Good morning. This one's called Stalled Negotiations. In the interim between the taking as hostages of my children, and now I've received no official reply from anyone. I've only received downstream replies in the form of being arrested. I don't see how this country can possibly survive continuing that strategy, and I think it actually it warrants the revoking of that status as a country. It's like these things, the amount of promotional material I have seen towards the LGBTQ community, and you are not addressing what I believe is a giant elephant in the room of potential feminization from voluntary permanent contraception on the male side. And there couldn't be a larger case of gross negligence really than that. There is no way forward with anything, until you sort this out. This blind spot, this selective cherry picking argument needs to be brought to an end, and you need to address the entire scope of the phenomenon that we're seeing. The only person really, from the perspective of myself as a man, the only person I have or the person that has benefited the most from this, and also the person who has convinced me the most to participate in this contraception, is my children's mother, who then put me in jail. And then the state government has me in a perpetual kind of hostage situation where they're like, we will allow this terrible behavior, and if he retaliates physically, we will put him in jail. If he retaliates, we will threaten him that if he retaliates, even with public testimony, that he will go to jail. We will drag this out for as long as possible so that the core desire of the individual who is committing the abuse is met, so that the full alienation is completed. And we will at the same time prevent any other movement. It's like I'm not going to live in a country where this type of shit is going on. It's the stupidest. It's so ridiculous, And this is what I'm saying. It's like, this is why we cannot have a unisex parliament. It does not exist. I'm not receiving unisex fucking care from my parliament. purely because I'm the pre-existing, example of something that has now had billions of dollars spent on the promotion on the other side. But the reasonings are so different. So I'm not being convinced by my teachers and my nurses that I'm a girl. I made the ultimate sacrifice from a man's perspective so that I wouldn't burden any other women with children. That's the narrative I was told. And it's not, you're not ending up anywhere on solid ground. You're ending up in like a perpetual rug where the problems are being tossed underneath. And then you were driving forward. And this is where it's like, unless we establish comparative models so that we can compare, it's like, what was the cost of life in 1986? And what is the cost of life now if you support this? And already it's like, well, do we introduce abortions, which for a lot of women, by their own account, are being described as contraception in this day and age, in this model, because it's a product on a shelf of a grossly, over fucking stimulated, over supported, overbuilt, overutilized medical industry. So it's like abortion is now contraception. The most noble contraception that there is from the male perspective. At the same time that there's constantly, you're hammering this manosphere archetype of toxic masculinity. Well, unfortunately, I'm closing in on it, and it's like your framework of toxic masculinity is actually applying to transsexual men. And that's the end of the line, folks. That's the end of the fucking line. You can't go any further than that. You've already jumped 6 fences. You know what I mean? You've let all the livestock out. You've let all the worst possible things happen that could have happened. And you were declaring that a almost lifelong victim of fucking domestic violence from both his mother and his fucking his children's mother, who is experiencing gender dysphoria because of combination of brain injury, potentially intersex, and then also a voluntary vasectomy that was persuaded by the children's mother. And then you are holding that person perpetually hostage, claiming that they are a toxic man, despite the fact that they have gone above and beyond to elevate the level of global diplomacy on these subjects. I don't know when you're going to get the message that you have nowhere to go but to acknowledge these accusations. You have nowhere to go. Even from my perspective, it's like I'm stuck in the middle. So I won't go to your medical system to receive adequate gender dysphoria care. I won't do that. Because why the fuck would I do that? Especially, I might do that somewhere else, but my children are here. So you're holding my children while you experiment on me to do with what? How much torment a person could possibly take by the most incompetent bunch of fucking nitwits not bringing anything to Australia except the radically decreasing cost of life for every single citizen. The global ransom for every Australian citizen is now basically, chicken feed. Now, I have a problem with that. Most of the people that I've ever known are Australian citizens. I have a problem with their lives being valued, next to the fucking bulk fucking supplies at the fucking livestock shop. I have a really big problem with it. I have a really big problem with the automation seen everywhere. akin to some type of livestock operation, like a milk dairy operation or an agricultural seeding or cropping. It's like, this is what you're doing. And no one is checking you. And there is no arbiter any longer. And it's because you've stolen the keys to Dad's car and you're hooning it around the fucking paddock. And the reason I know, it's like, I used to steal my mum's car and I used to hoon it around the paddock. And so I know when I see something that I have done, I know what the behavior is. You don't have any answers. You are so uneducated about the level of seriousness of these accusations, the level of global interaction on these interactions, the level of pushback that you'll find, on these issues. A person not brainwashed, as a teenager to change genders. No, it's the ultimate display of male humility for the betterment of his children under the umbrella of the constant reinforced climate catastrophe, population crisis that we've all been fucking drip fed in our little battery cages for our entire lives. There could not possibly be a greater example unless that person swore slightly less. I swear slightly too much, as someone who is claiming that they are being held against their will, that their children are being held against their will in an experimental, absolutely ridiculously fucking negligent display of governance. The only way you can understand what's going on is to declare it as an illegal experiment, right along the lines of the previous illegal experiments that I'm already claiming that you've subjected my mother to. And every single member of my family is a participant of this illegal experiment. And there is no answer. There's no fucking answer. And according to the latest financial figures of the government, it's like, you're bankrupt. You're bankrupt. You don't have any fucking money. You're outgoing. You cannot cover your outgoings. You cannot cover your promises. You have no money in a radically approaching fucking, energy crisis. And you're dealing with someone who's representing the freehold estate of his father's lifelong acquisition, held in escrow in his name, with his grandchildren carrying that name. You have no fucking chance in hell of doing anything. All of this is every level of it. What the hell are you going to do? Even yesterday's claim, or yesterday's bill that I put forward through the House of Lords, it's like that in order to apply that, uniformly across the entire Commonwealth. Shifting the power dynamic of fuel pricing to the sphere of local government. Well, my opponent in local government is a completely ridiculous person. Her only banner that she's waving is domestic violence. It's like that perpetuation of that concept of domestic violence is what created this problem. The 15, 16 years that I lived with that woman, the police were never called. There was never a situation that got out of hand. We dealt with countless other examples, like the case of my mother and her ex-husband, that we came to literally mediate their divorce. You don't understand what you're doing. You are just throwing fuel on a fire that you can't control, that has so many dynamics going on. With the largest factor, it's like, guess what causes domestic violence? Financial stress. So in an attempt to keep your standing army of public servant lunatics, haplessly playing Grand Theft Auto at Hakea Prison, you are attempting to persuade West Australian women to lock up their partners, their ex-partners, their fathers, their sons, whoever the fuck they can, so that the only result could possibly be that there is never at all any certainty of any male figure in this country. Well, that's a crime. That's called war. You're participating in war in Kingsley, on the citizens of Kingsley, including the Aboriginal citizens of Kingsley that have a claim that outstrips your claim 1,000-fold. So what are you doing in Kingsley, Jessica Stovlovsky, or whatever your name is? What the hell do you think you're doing here? Why are you distributing war propaganda through our bankrupt state government in order to oppose someone that is literally around the corner from you that makes videos every day? Because I represent every single man in this state that has been falsely arrested under your protocol of domestic violence. And my intention is to bring a class action lawsuit for every single person that has been harassed and disrupted throughout this period, under the umbrella of this elevating concept of domestic violence. My example being that I was in political opposition. Literally my responsibility, my political responsibility, that's what I was doing. As an Australian citizen from a family with, a collective 340 years collective Australian citizenship. I was participating in my highest duty to oppose completely negligent concepts and concepts that were leading to the harassment or the false imprisonment or the kidnapping of Australian children under a pseudoscientific make-believe umbrella of women's protection. It can't exist. There's nowhere. It's like, I'm not here. I'm not solely here because the problem didn't start here. The problem of these unconscious, subconscious interactions between historic tensions on ethnicity. With England and Ireland being really low on that level. Especially look at the wars that are going on in the world right now. We start looking a whole lot more the same than we do different. Australia is not the Wild West. It's not a place that you can come fleeing communism, then utilizing communism to turn the historic pioneering ethnicities against each other and steal their children and mutilate them and psychologically torment them and hold them hostage in a experimental fucking concept that your highest level of response is dancing on Instagram. This is a British Empire defense. Now, it doesn't matter whether the British Empire isn't officially recognized because the results of the British Empire are still here. So if you're not a member of the British Empire and you're seen to be being remunerated to provoke tensions, to steal children, to indoctrinate them into pseudoscientific thinking, it's like, what level? Because this is what it'll get to. It's like, stop arguing with me. I've been having this conversation with every female participant in my family my entire life because I've been being swept by the feminist tsunami, by the feminist communist tsunami, and that's the only place it ever goes. Women do not go the whole hog in these situations. They will always resort to this. They will always resort to pointing the finger if given the tools to do so and saying, stop arguing with me. Well, who's there to say that this is like, who is the father of this? Does Roger Cook have daughters? You know what I mean? Does he have sisters? Do you have daughters? Do you understand, like, that experimentally, like, giving the car keys to every single young girl at the same time, that there is a constant perpetuation of, like, keeping up with the Joneses on steroids on Instagram and keeping up with the prostitutes on OnlyFans, you know, flooding the world with nudity and sexual content and all these things, and then saying, oh, by the way, you've got the keys, you've got total control, and you've got a standing army of police. What on earth are you fucking doing with my fucking country and my state and my family? What are you doing? How do you continue this selective blindness in someone else's country? How on earth do you do it? And keep a straight face. I can't imagine. You have an Eastern European name. It's like, if I relocated to Eastern Europe, I can't imagine ever doing. And even worse, I can't imagine my daughter doing that. If I relocated to another country, I was a first generation immigrant, and my daughter started acting like you, it would be my responsibility to stop her doing that before she got us all killed. And that's not a threat. And this is the thing, it's like, you're basically invading my country with women and with dangerous feminine, ideals, and then declaring, if we defend ourselves, it's against the law. Now, how is that not exactly what you're doing? And how do you get the nerve to do that? Honestly, like, are you on drugs that are allowing you to do this type of thing? Are you medicated? Have you been subjected to some type of fucking brainwashing? Are you a sleeper agent of some type of foreign? Like, I can't understand, because I do some things that are pretty difficult, pretty confronting. Long, hard, push back against things, and it's dangerous and it's scary. But I'm not in a foreign country, so I have no fucking idea how you are actually doing this daily, knowing that you are representing the same locality as I am. I don't know. I just cannot understand it. I understand that you have a fucking utopian vision. See, that's the easy thing. It's like, you have a utopian vision of a female liberated world. It's like, well, so do I, honey. That's why I got a vasectomy. Otherwise, I would have been setting up fucking franchise families and fucking Andrew Tating my way across the fucking world. I've spent the last 18 years dealing with sustainability and the issues at hand, all these. That's why I'm constantly, pushing these concepts in to understand. I understand the landscape better than most because I sacrificed personal gain to understand the landscape. Why? Because I'm a father, and that's my responsibility. And that's pretty much what fathers have been doing for millions of years. I guess right now is the point to say, I now have another pseudonym-carrying fucking online troll, right, which on a daily basis harasses me far larger than I've ever harassed my children's mother, carrying the pseudonym of her husband, the person, the absolutely ridiculous actual domestic violence participant that you've been protecting and shielding with the entire fucking judiciary, police force, and medical industry for over 4 years. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's what he's asked me. That's what this video is about, you fucking cocksucker. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Well, I don't know. I am chained here under the interests, voluntary, yes. This is what's even weirder. It's like the voluntary interests of my children, because I have an instinctual capacity to look after my children in ways that outstrip, the baseline financial, which is the only way that this socialist system can possibly quantify the commitment a father would bring to his children is through the financial metrics of a absolutely fraudulent fucking economic system that they are, monstrously indebted in. New comments. Still being a keyboard warrior. I'm not using my keyboard. This is experimental. What's the word? It's like experimental, strange and unusual punishment. A international war crime being committed in Western Australia every fucking day. It doesn't matter whether you sitting there as the member for Kingsley and you individually, outsource these perhaps Indian trolls to do, or maybe they're just volunteer fucking trolls, comrades of the national fucking communist left. But it doesn't matter. It still structurally exists and is a fucking war crime. Now, the thing is, it's like every day the level amplifies, but it ends up pushing. And I'm like, I haven't pushed to federal. I haven't, pushed to oppose the Prime Minister sitting on the floor with a bunch of Muslims. I'm opposing the member for Kingsley. And she's participating in the exact behaviour that almost every woman is being persuaded to participate in across the country, which is to ignore a problem, to ignore feedback, to ignore a challenge, to ignore accusations, to ignore all of these things, which if I do that, it amplifies my level of crime. So you've set me on a fucking spinning top to defend my family and my rights, my property, my father's inheritance, all these things with absolutely no response while you dance on Instagram, a place that I've already fucking spent the last 3 years criticizing because it is held in a microscopic little fucking handheld version. My theory explains your behavior, but your theory doesn't explain my behavior. Under your theory, I would have already retaliated and killed people and beaten them and shot them and fucking burnt fucking buildings, all this shit, because I'm a toxic, violent man. All of these things. Even during my arrest, I was literally protesting the whole time. The exact conditions of my arrest officially presented to the relevant people that would be required to legitimize my political opposition. Let's read the new comments. This is a question, is a two-parter. Are those your clothes or do they belong to Siobhan? Again, mentioning my partner. If they are hers, does she get shitty at you for wearing them? Does Brad Doody get shitty at you for wearing his name on the internet? During a war, during an accusation of war crimes. Now, I didn't hide my address. I didn't hide my name. I didn't pretend to be someone else. I said everything officially to the people responsible over and over and over again, and I ended up in a jail cell. I ended up, forcibly removed from a town at gunpoint, over and over and over again, and because of the system that you are relying upon to police domestic violence, this person presenting as the actual accused, like the actual person, presenting a pseudonym, you don't know who they are. You can't find them. And they know that. And they brag about that in a forum called Reddit. Strange and unusual punishment, and what's worse, for a crime I've never committed. This is atrocious. It warrants violent and never-ending retaliation. I can't imagine what the people that agree with my stance would do if they actually were able to find these grubs. But they can't. They can't find them. This is what you are policing from behind digital barricades. You are governing from behind digital barricades. solely against people who present themselves unbarricaded, presenting legitimate political opposition. Your boss, the Premier Roger Cook, has blocked me. He has built a castle around himself at the press of a button, which protects him from any further criticism or opposition, so that he doesn't have to sit there and listen to the fact that this is legitimate opposition. Not to his like individual, like, you know, grassroots, like infrastructure plan, nothing like that. It's like, no, in a new fantastic way that he has broken fucking international human rights laws, and he doesn't even know about it because of the very phenomenon that I'm mentioning. And the only way for me to get any more legitimate, like to get any more absolution towards my opposition, is to elevate my response. And your whole system relies on this precedent, on the things you've already done, because you're bankrupt. You're bankrupt in the middle of an energy crisis, and the model you've already been using to govern, to police, all these things is criminal. You know, it's like this isn't a time to fuck around. We need an absolute government right now. And unfortunately, it's like I can't see how the Australian government or any of the state governments are actually even, they're not going to make it. That doesn't mean Australia isn't going to make it. This doesn't mean Australians aren't sovereign. It means we're here. We're here. We've been long. My family, both sides, has been here longer than the Australian government has. You know, the things I'm protecting, if you don't protect and respect what I'm protecting, then you give up your authority to govern anyone else based on those projections. These are the core principles of life. There's nothing more important than this. You know, you've built a sure thing system with computers that you haven't even bought. You're renting computers. You know, more than likely you are participating in the largest ever like global sting operation that there's ever been. Every single person. It's like, even when, and there's multiple dimensions that we can talk about, because like, to break the privacy illusion of the internet right now, it's probably not worthwhile, because we're incriminating we're finding a lot of people based on this perception that they actually think that they are private, that they can hide. They can't hide. But it's not about this person, whoever this is, sitting behind a fucking computer, entering troll things. You know, it's not about his door being fucking knocked down and him being, you know, dragged through the fucking courts. It's about the model. It's about who's perpetuating it at the top. Who is relying upon this outsourced model of crime and punishment? Well, that's you, Jessica Stavlovsky. That's you in Kingsley. You know, you're sitting there as the legitimate member for this play, and you have no way to answer any of the concepts or any of the things I'm saying. You don't understand any of it. You've been given a mandate by someone, and I don't know who it is, to just perpetuate, you know, an acceleration of the domestic violence by constantly promoting it. You know, I learnt the Macarena by hearing it over and over and over again. That's how I learnt it. You know, how could you possibly be pretending that you aren't just distributing the Macarena, but the Macarena is like, arrest, arrest, arrest your husband. We'll arrest your husband. We'll put him in jail forever. Hey, Jessica Stavlovsky. See, I can dance too, cunt. And yes, I did call you a cunt, because in this moment, when you're committing war crimes in my state, you deserve to be called a cunt. And that's not domestic violence. And this will all be avoided as soon as we understand that we cannot have a unisex parliament in a global fucking world war. How could we do that? How, when, like, I think it's likely, the statistically likely, right? These are figures that aren't mentioned. How much more likely is it that a man is going to be violently assaulted than a woman? in any confrontation, not en masse, not like on your statistics of what you're claiming is verbal, whatever is violence. I mean, if you send a man and a woman to a place and get them to act badly, who is more likely to get assaulted, the man or the woman? And my accusation that you are acting extremely badly in a foreign country, claiming to have the authority of the land and the state and all these things. The reality of Australians is that we're not violent, especially not against women. That's why you're there. You're there so you can push this shit through without opposition. Because look how many eggshells I'm having to walk on just to oppose you. And you just say nothing. You just say nothing. And you wouldn't stand a chance. In an all-female parliament, you wouldn't stand a chance. You are there as a token representative to sit unopposed whilst projecting absolutely criminal behaviour. Like, domestic violence is a problem. But so is the amplification of fraud. Like, how much, and I know the figures, I've already heard this from countless people that I've spoken to who are in this, who are like, yeah, you can't handle it. And then the newspaper prints it. But it's like, what are we dealing with? Are we dealing with dead women and beaten women all over the place? Or are we dealing with a amplified level and a lowering bar for what is actually described as domestic violence? Are you promoting the concept of domestic violence successfully? So you're running a PR advertising campaign to amplify accusations and call-ups for domestic violence. And then riding the wave of your own promotion through a communist system where there's no feedback. You know what I mean? Because the easiest thing to spend money, it's like you get given an amount of money to deal with a problem that's your portfolio of domestic violence, whatever. So you, as a completely ridiculous, inexperienced person with radical ideological, preconceptions, you look at the world and you say, how do I fix a problem? And then the advertising executives and marketing executives say, you pay me. You pay me, and I will create a promotion to lower domestic violence. But you don't. You create a promotion that amplifies the rate of accusations of domestic violence into a already unsustainable, judicial and policing and prison system. So you don't oversee that. You know what I mean? That's a really complex interaction there. Like you're basically, and this in a business sense, is you're selling too much product and you can't keep up with supply. But the product you're selling is the feeling of relief that women get when their husband or ex-partner or father or anything is being abused by other people. You're selling, you are literally are an extortion operation disguised as our state government. Literally. There is, and it's like, it's just all there. You don't like sneak in the back alley and go, oi, pay me, or you're not burning down tobacco shops. You're doing it on the mainstream media. You're doing it on Instagram. You're doing it unopposed with hundreds of thousands of dollars, with countless lives, countless flow-on effects, countless that's called sabotage. That's called espionage. That's a fucking crime. It's a really serious crime. Now, my job is to work out how we get from this really serious crime to a well-negotiated surrender from your part. while preventing. Guess what I'm preventing violence. You know, what happens to a country that does that gets caught doing that out in the fringes of some contested territory? Like, what happens? You know, look at Iran, look at Ukraine, look at these places right now. Somehow this is being held in a fucking negotiation. Somehow, because I will actually claim a little bit of kudos here. It's like, because I'm an incredibly fucking skilled operator in this. But there is no pathway forward through the fucking bullshit, through the pile of bullshit that you have fucking created here. As I just sit there and watch these comments from this pseudonym, it's like, what? You are literally creating your negligence, your absolute crime, your illegal activity in Australia is now entertaining people on Reddit. This is the level of sickness that is pervading our society. This is the level of fucking, online gamer troll mentality that is, perpetrating, or that is permeating through our entire system. Strange and unusual punishment. We do not govern based on the ethics or on the etiquette of online video games in this country. Instagram and the social marketplace of likes and followers being the most prominent example that you are playing. You are playing a video game, a socially designed, sociopathic video game, which is a crime, but I can't do anything about that because it also is holding my defense. Right. So basically my claim is, well, there is a gamified version of social media, and then there is a social media that is just used for accurate high-level distribution of anything, which is what I'm participating in. So I'm having to have the highest level accusations of war crimes, accusations of kidnapping, accusations of torture, all these things, while my opposition plays a social video game, basically is at a fucking 16-year-old's fucking birthday party, trying to prance around and do the Macarena better. Now, there is two ways to look at that, and I look at them both ways. One is that it's the most dystopian, hellish thing I've ever heard of in my life, and the other is that it's kind of a weird. It's like if you get away that this is actually just kidnap people and people are dead and people are fucking now, their lives are destroyed and businesses are destroyed. And, if you can put all that aside, which is a mammoth task on its own, if you can put it all aside, there's almost like an adorable nature to it. It's like, that's adorable, isn't it? Oh my God. No, it's not. It's not adorable. And this is the problem. This is the problem with a unisex government. Men and women look at things very differently. Men, fathers in general, do not want to be at a little girl's birthday party. They don't. And if they do, that's a fucking problem. My own daughter's I don't want to be there. Even like this. Do you know what I mean? This isn't my life. This is like a strategy to not violently fucking retaliate to people that are committing crimes. One of them, a pseudonym, being here right now. The umbrella of like adorable. Oh my God. This is, again, an anecdote from yesterday where I was speaking to my current girlfriend who this prick here loves to mention about a Harmony Day thing at an experimental Montessori school with her friend was in tears because she said, oh my God. And I don't want to offend people, okay? It's not like I'm not being critical of women's mentality. I love women's mentality. It is utopian. It is suicidally optimistic. And this is the best example I've ever heard. She was in tears saying, I wish that everyone could just be in harmony like the little kids that we're forcing to do this harmony day. And it's like, that's where these people are governing from. They're governing from radical optimism using experimental preschool techniques. And that's an actual sign that our society was so good, was so safe, so like supportive, so wonderful, that it allowed this to permeate through to the top levels, only to have that radical optimism completely destroy all of that progress that we had, all of that construction of that safe environment that literally is. So you are using a system, you are relying on a system that produces the disgusting fucking misogynists that everyone now is criticizing because Louis Theroux went and did it. But that's only half the fucking story. So we have radically optimistic, delusionally fucking optimistic women governing with strategies, utilized on preschoolers, by the usage of their online metric marketplace economy, their likes and followers and Instagram, like, subscribe. They are legitimizing that marketplace that produces the OnlyFans stars and that produces the toxic manosphere fucking ultra fucking celebrities. And the people that you fucking step on are the people that are representing stability, that are representing like diplomacy, democracy, like self-sacrifice, responsibility, all the things. And it's like the problem is, it's like there's this nice guys finish last thing, and it's like, I'm kind of a nice guy, but I'm not really. Like, I could be 10 degrees away from one of these manosphere dudes, especially in my younger years. So that's even worse. It's like you're using this thing to turn Australia into a preschool. You know what I mean? And it's like, look at our Prime Minister. He's sitting on the floor with no shoes on, with little birds on his socks. You can't run a country like a preschool. You can't. We're not dealing with countries that are with other nations going to respect that. It isn't leading to utopia. It's leading to the worst possible scenario. And there's this phenomenon of, like, around the world right now where trans people are getting guns and they're killing people. It's like, well, what type of trans person are they? Have they been conditioned by this fucking thing to do this? And then they're being, constantly harassed while told that they're not. It's like, what is there to do when our arena, which by just necessity, the political arena, to enter that political, you are lowering the thing, you are presenting this requirement of feminization, which has gone to the ridiculous level. Like, you can even look at it now. It's like, if you look with the eyes that I have, it's like the suit wearing politicians, like, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. No one trusts anyone in the suit, because of this. It's like both sides of it. Either the suit wearing hard liners, or the female preschool teachers in our political scene. They are a symbiotic assemblement of this unisex, radically optimistic delusion. It's like the power couple dynamic of, like, contrived political influence like that. So they have to rock up. They have to be like, oh my God, yes, well, we're doing this. Like that, because that's what you would do. It's like if you wanted to win, and that's because they're emulating people like Barack Obama, Hillary and Bill Clinton, like this, businessman, and then his wife is this preschool teacher. But it's like you're not, and then what's actually happening as well is because of these social media economy of likes and followers, you're actually stimulating the decline because those algorithms only really push forward people with destructive behavior patterns, and then they're competing with each other, so they're amplifying each other. It's like a UFC fight for self-interested destructive behaviors, which inevitably pushes anyone who's legitimately, prepared to combat the reality of the world out, you're way out. But then you have to be in that arena. It's like the perfect sabotage machine. It keeps anyone out that could possibly fix it. Anyone out that could possibly, and then ridicules the hell out of them and tortures them to protect a strange, very recent phenomenon of this pandering, like social pecking order, like Survivor. It's like this. It's like Survivor. But then I have to assume that like I'm playing Survivor as well. And I just don't know how any of my potential opponents would survive against me, because they'd have to put up 6 years worth of policy and protocol and of observation with absolutely no support, no nothing. The young members that are entering, especially the Labor Party, you know what I mean? They're getting more support on day one than I've had my entire life to do with my political opposition of these things. It's like that's a really strange thing to build. It's incredibly strange. And daily, I will just sit here and just keep reporting and keep building the policies that are going to not just fix it, and that's not. I can't be a politician. I can't be saying this is going to fix it really quickly. It's like, no, it's going to take ages. It's going to be really shit because we're so far into the shit. But the thing it really is going to do is it is going to expose gross negligence like a laser beam, like a crop duster, like a national litmus paper that just says, there's the problem. We've got a bunch of preschool teaching, Australian Idol wannabe sociopaths, borderline sociopaths, incompetently distributing their funds in a global environment of radically unpoliced, uncontrollable warfare. Well, that's a recipe for disaster. And what's even worse, like the problem with when there's a communist invasion like this, it doesn't need to win. It just needs to lower the level of everyone so that no one is trained to have the skills that is required to combat it. And the most important skill that any politician, there just needs to be a test, like a driving test. It's like, if you can't understand whether you're being manipulated by external forces to basically walk a bomb into the building, and that is an accusation to almost every member of the Labor Party across the entire country, you are bringing bombs in. It's just that the bombs are, there's societal bombs, they're ideological bombs, they're in a lot of cases chemical bombs. They're just mentalities. They're the they're the normalization of negligence, or normalization of like, it's not my problem, or of liability protections, like, I don't know, bureaucratic red tape protection against liability so that you sign a form instead, like giganticization of bureaucratic process so that it's so buried inside your own internal documents that you can never be caught and never be exposed for walking a bomb in the building. It's like we've got to get out of this Roadrunner cartoon version of the world where we're thinking that a bunch of people with fucking turbans on are going to walk, suicide vests in. Or in the recent Bondi, the two Middle Eastern, ISIS flag waving people are going to take pop shots like they're playing duck shooter at Bondi Beach. It's like, no, that's not what we're dealing with. That's a cartoon. That's the Roadrunner. That's Looney Tunes shit. Yeah, like it's not hard. If I can go through this to defend our country against this shit, trust me, people can fucking, plan a little distribution of concepts and install it into our ridiculously low respected, low authority local government system. And it all is being perpetrated by the people that are claiming, like our federal government is very important, and as we've gone into a globalized world, the problem is really easy. It's like, well, they got too much attention, which doesn't make sense. You can't defend Australia federally. You can't. You cannot. You have to defend it locally. And the problem now is like the way that we actually need to defend our locations and collectively defend our country locally is so outrageously different to what we're all used to. We're all used to driving through 6 suburbs that all look the same, that have a McDonald's, a KFC, and a fucking Kmart and a Target, 6 petrol stations, 4 bottle shops, and nowadays probably 3 candle shops as well that sell little fucking imitation fucking costume jewelry and incense. But it's like, what's that going to do to protect anything? That's a display of a bloated federal government that has stripped the attention away from local government, focused all the decision-making and power up to the top of them and drowned their population in homogeneity. Homogeneousness, like homogeneity. Anyway, homogeneousness, like in monoculture, in uniformity. Really, it's the most dangerous thing you could ever think to do. Yeah, this is what every construction industry does. All in high vis, all in uniform, all in this. It's like, well, that makes it really easy to disrupt those things. It makes it really, but basically makes war a walk in the park when you have those systems like that. In this day and age, in the day and age of where we're all going to march to fucking Berlin or to fucking Poland, it made sense. It doesn't make sense here. And now it's absolutely ridiculous. And this is the thing, it's like our local governments. And the thing is, it's like that job is so large for and it's like, there are thousands more local governments than there are federal. Thousands and thousands more. And every single one of those people needs to be basically fucking like the Archbishop of Canterbury for the next 5 years. They do not need to be a worker drone projected in from Eastern Europe to dance on Instagram. Every single location needs to radically readdress their infrastructure, their supply chains, their pricing models, their laws, regarding these things like domestic violence. It's like, otherwise we're all just subject to global flow of these ideological, cluster bombs. And this is actually what creates like individual identity of locations. I'm in Kingsley right now, so I guess like this is the constituency of Kingsley. It's like, right, well, I could walk for fucking 17 hours and not leave anywhere that I couldn't tell. Like if you were a foreigner and you were dropped, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. That's a really fucking big problem. It's a really big problem. The place that I grew up in, which I can also walk to from here, was in the hills. It had 6 individual townships that all had individual identity. You know what I mean? You could tell where you were, despite the fact that it's all the same bushland, all the same roads, all the same everything. But you could tell where you were because the people changed. Now, there's a little bit of that, but there's not enough. And even where I grew up, it's like that still wasn't enough. This needs to be absolutely crazy, down to like what I'm saying. It's like individual fuel pricing and a concept such as cost of life. This is what will govern real estate prices and things like that. See, at the moment, it's really convenient for like global investors, trying to secure millions and millions of freehold properties to do perpetual renting schemes, like BlackRock and Vanguard. But we're doing half of their job for them by just making it just like here, copy and paste. Here's our dancing clown in local government. Here's the constant wars to make us think that local government is absolutely useless. All of that power is just a phone call away from New York with skilled people that, they've got the same level skill as what I'm doing here in persuasion and rhetoric, same level, organized, algorithmically prepared, focused, maps on the walls. We're going to focus on this area. We're going to take this area over, and all it takes is a couple of calls. Hey, can I sell you a big barrel of poison that you can spray all over the fucking place? Yeah. Why? Because that plant doesn't belong there. That plant doesn't belong there, yeah. Hey, can I sell you a big box of fucking pills? Yeah. Yeah, no, because anyone that opposes the fact that a clown should be in local government dancing on the internet, they're obviously mentally fucking ill. Yeah. What are the pills called? They're called this. Oh, that's inconvenient, isn't it? You named, because this is the lowest hanging fruit. See, we're so far on from these clever dicks that sat there and made up all these schemes, and a lot of them are dead, or they've changed their identity and they're floating around some tax haven in the Mediterranean or in the Caribbean, right? So they thought it was clever when they said, "Oh, we'll call them." They call it SSRI. You know what I mean? It's basically what the Nazis said when they had SS on their thing. It's like SSRI. RI. Do you know it? Like that's... So it's like, the pill that they use as the modern day, as the modern day concentration camp distributed in every West Australian prison, which is this is what happens if you're not willing to put a dress on and speak to camera and oppose a clownish local government person. Then you just go to prison and you'd be like, can I have some SSRIs? And they'll be like, yes, SSRI. SSRI. Yeah, of course you can. You're in Auschwitz. You're in fucking Dachau. You're like, have some SSRI. Have some SSRI. For your completely fraudulent concept that is still spoken about for your chemical imbalance. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird now. Oh shit, it's weird now. And it's like, well, how would you expect it would feel? That's exactly how you're supposed to be like. And if you don't have an intimate connection with this, like say your family hasn't been absolutely tormented by this and you haven't been at war with it for fucking years, That's like a weird thing. It's like, but when it happens, you go, oh, so we were in a concentration camp run by the SS, and the SS kept selling it to people. You know, there were less and less SS. In fact, there was so less SS that they forgot these things, because that's what you would do. And this is the thing. It's like we are trapped inside a construction of post-war fucking World War II, you know, Nazi and global fucking bullshit, right? We're trapped in it. But then all the masterminds have cashed out. It's like, think of what was the, not Enron, but what's his name? Madoff, right? Madoff. What was his name? What was his first name? Bernie Madoff. That's this. But it's such a high level. It's like, and all the original institutors of this have already cashed out. So it's like a franchised concentration camp. And then our government, most prominently Paul Keating, for some reason instructed us that we have to have mandatory money removed from our paycheck to finance our own imprisonment, to pay off the people, to pay off the, like. And the problem is, he didn't tell us that. He didn't say, they're threatening us, I have to, you know, pay them off for the next however many years until everybody figures it out. So that whatever, he didn't say that. He said, this is a recession we need to have, and everyone, and superannuation is going to make you rich when you're old. He did what politicians did. He lied. But it's all there. It's like, you know, it's like, because these people, the people that make these names, the people that do marketing and all these, they're not idiots. You know, that's half of their job, is putting clever little things like this together to subliminally prepare you and to prime you into receiving something. So why would you call it that? And then it's like, well, it's actually called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. To fit in with the brain chemistry fucking pseudoscience, the brain chemistry rhetoric, the brain chemistry marketing that has been now completely quashed. Is ridiculous. Why would you have, you know what I mean? Why would you mention serotonin, which is a brain chemical, unless you were pushing a brain chemical imbalance, which my mother will still tell you. You know, you go ask her, why are you on pills, Wendy? And she's on brain, which means that she told her children that, which was alignment to a fictitious marketing thing. You know, it's the same level as the OxyContin, like, you know, not addictive, but way worse. Way worse. It's like what the Sacklers did was self-interest. You know, they moved a product. Now, the fact that we know that happened means that this is way worse. This is way, 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 way worse. And it literally says SS. So if you, and I think this is the problem as well, is like a lot of people still might not understand what I'm saying, but it's like SSRI. They're like, where's the SS? Take your pills or you'll die. That's what they're saying. That's what they were saying. That's what they built and then they sold it to Nazi sympathizing countries around the world, or Nazi sympathizing governments, which basically, now that we've all seen the Nazi showdown of the world, we can understand that unlike the media we all gobbled down where everyone thought Nazis were bad, actually there is a really good helping of Nazi sympathizers around the world. So you can almost then assume that every government across the world in their opposition, dual bipartisan parliaments, had one party that was, sympathetic to the Nazis, and one party that was sympathetic to the Jews, I guess, right? And so this is a battle where we had one party would buy the pills called SSRIs, and they'd wear their Adidas and they'd wear their fucking Puma, or they'd distribute that to the masses. And it's like, look what we have. It's like, do we have a bunch of people wearing Adidas and Puma that are on SSRIs? Well, yes, we do. Linguistically, isn't that a weird phenomenon? Isn't that just a strange thing? And then we have a bunch of people yelling out "gas the Jews" all over the place. Well, that's because the true reality of the world is that there was equal Nazi sympathization to Jewish sympathization, and that we now have two behemoth monolithic entities, the Jewish state of Israel, I suppose, which is like that was required, and then they have ultimate reasoning for all of their actions based on the fact that there is a global Nazi sympathizer fucking network going on that literally blatantly does things like this. And so we're stuck. We're stuck strangely between Israel and the Nazis. But all of this exists in the giganticized, international geopolitical environment, and all of it needs to be restored through local governments. This is the best way. Is a local government now has authority to mandate fuel pricing based on its interpersonal, geographical, socio-economic realities. We cannot homogenize the world. We cannot, and we aren't homogenizing the world. So if we keep attempting to homogenize the world with China being a reality, and then secondly Russia being a reality, where their cost of life is negative. It's basically they're paying to kill their own citizens. Which it seems like it's like, well, we're paying to imprison our own citizens. Because the concept of people through the economic thing was that most people were getting in the way. If you're making tons of bank on Wall Street, you're making fucking cash everywhere, you're a fucking high-flying CEO, Epstein frequent flyer, right? The masses, really, they're just getting in the way. And as long as you fucking, you completely subscribe to the science fiction, it's like the robot's going to be doing everything anyway. The robot's going to, these people are just useless fucking eaters. Let's just imprison them with SSRIs. We don't need them. They get in the way. They put on dresses and oppose us politically on the internet. Some of them are really sophisticated and link up with all the pre-existing, pre-Civil War fucking situations, and then try and expose all of this. That's too difficult. But we're dealing with radically high-level technological exposure of basically bro code fucking, global scams. Now, there's tons of people historically I respect. Nelson, Drake, like Churchill, all these things. But what you've got to understand is like they were basically Andrew Tate. That is why Andrew Tate's assumption that he's doing the right thing is actually gold star. He gets a gold star because he is exactly like all of the people that did all of the things that built all of the shit that we are now imprisoned by in a franchise model. But the difference between myself and someone like Andrew Tate is Andrew Tate declares all of that the Matrix, right? And basically that means It's too hard. I don't understand it. Despite the fact my dad was a chess playing master and I'm a fucking whatever the fuck kickboxer. You know, it's too hard. It's the Matrix. No, fuck. It's not too hard. It is really hard. But it's like it needs to be fixed. And the people that know how to fix it should be fucking, should be being allowed to fix it. So there was two concepts going on. There was the status quo. The world will be governed by people that are the same that have come before. Powerful leaders, powerful, military geniuses, aggressive, like con men, businessmen, all these things that will build continuations and build these systems. But it's like, no, or the second reality is that we are literally imprisoned by the legacy creations of those people. And so the sole job is to go and detangle, which I got to detangle my hair every morning. We're going to detangle ourselves from these legacy creations, which weirdly, a lot of them have these weird little clues, like we're playing Blues Clues. Like, oh, they're called SSRIs, and you're acting like the SS. Isn't that funny? And not be in the environment where they then go, well, that's crazy. See, half the job was being done for them because you were being persuaded that you were already almost crazy, right? So that by the time you got anywhere near one of these SS guys, all they had to do was nudge you in and like, you sound a little bit crazy, right? And the conformity instinct for all of your friends and family is already done 3/4 of the job, right? So it's a collective conformity that is imprisoning us. So by the time you actually get there and they say, you probably need some SSRI. And then the creation of that is that you're actually like, I do need some SSRI. That explains everything. I just had a chemical imbalance in my brain. You start repeating their fucking sales pitch, which then says what? It says SSRI. There's also a secondary thing that every single bogan in this country was driving around with a fucking Commodore that said SS on the side of it. I wonder. And the thing is, it's weird because I technically am SS. I'm Secret Service for His Majesty's Secret Service. So it's like SS, but it's like when we talk SS, that's why we don't say, I say MI6 or MI5 or whatever. It's like I don't say SS because the Nazis ruined that. But to some people, the Nazis, they owned that. That was the thing. So this is how you dig through all of this. So there's no way that this shouldn't be getting dealt with. And I've given clear reasons to how we're going to do it. So we need to, establish local governments and give them a whole lot more power and have ruthless, absolute battles. Like the other thing is like if you are running for local government in this model, once these powers are granted to you, you basically become like the Lord Mayor. And for some reason, this hasn't been the way it's gone. It's been basically the way that local government is treated in Australia is it's like some weird fucking bureaucratic position where you just like it's like you're a public servant. You may as well work at a library. But considering immediately on establishment of this change, you will have command that will be ridiculous, And a lot of that power should be utilised in limiting the influence of federal and state governments over your decision-making processes. But then the local constituency really need to get serious about who the fuck they let in to that position. You know what I mean? They need to get really serious. You need to say you need to get a lot more sophisticated than looking how many likes and subscribers someone has on Instagram because they can do dances to ring. You need to be like, how much commitment has this person put into the actual betterment of a individual geographical location in competition with a international state? And right now, that means it's like, I'm for sale. There we go. If all the OnlyFans, everyone's fucking done all these things, you know, it's like, it's finally my time to put the for sale sign up. I thought I was going to have to sell my house. I was going to have to, I was going to have to move. It's like, nope, I'm going to pour myself out on the internet like every other fucking person in this world. So right now, myself, Shannon Wise, is for sale, right? Based on my commitment to this cause. And this is everywhere. This is here. This is all states in Australia. This is Great Britain, and this is Ireland, right? For a local government position, I am for sale, which means that if you hear about this and you would like someone who is going to fucking absolutely represent the hell out of you, you know, already, and it's like, that's a pretty, if someone pushes this as a concept to be mass adopted in all of these places, you probably, you know, it's a good idea to get that person in your thing. I like the beach. I like long walks on the beach. I want to buy a horse. I like sailing. I like somewhere that's not a big city, but maybe some, you know, nearish, whatever, because I like to also maybe do any. But anyway, that's the thing. It's like then you have to buy me. You have to buy me as your local government representative. See, I'm not going to do it here because I don't want to live in Kingsley and I don't want to oppose this brainless git. You know, I'll leave that for someone else. And I do feel that I like if you were to buy a racehorse, it's like, that's what I am. I'm going to be your racehorse, and I'm going to get your council to the front of all the other councils with the biggest head start you could ever imagine, and then the strongest, most powerful fucking thoroughbred legs you could ever get, all for a, you know, all in an international auction for who wants to jump on board. And then we'll start this, we'll have a ceremonial gun starting. It's like, this is the beginning of the new local government superiority protocol. Starting here, bang, right? And then we all go. I'll even dress as a man. You know, it's up to you. You get to decide. Do you want me as a... No, you don't get to decide. I get to decide. And I don't know. I'm such a confused boy, girl. So yeah, I'm for sale now. So think about it hard and fast. And you can make, it's like, it doesn't have to be, it does not have to be money. It can be land. It can be a title. It can be guarantees. It can be claims. It can be lots of things. Like, you get your thinking caps on. It's like, what can we give him? And plus, you're selling me the place where you live as well. It's like, I want to live somewhere where I want to live. So that's a big consideration as well, you know. So that you might put forward the best bet, but I'm not just about money, you know. So it needs to be somewhere, like, if you would say it's like, you know, where, I don't know, if you're in Coventry in England, I'd be like, no, it doesn't matter if you paid me $1 bazillion. I'm not going to be the fucking councillor or the fucking local government representative for Coventry, because just the mention of that place makes my blood fucking boil because of the outrage that I have over the fucking absolute maggot that fucking escaped from Coventry to end up throwing his fucking manipulative, fucking psychopathic, probably pedophile fucking weight around in Australia. So Coventry is off the cards. It is off the cards. But everywhere else has a good chance. So you know what I mean? Get your bids in, and I'll get ready. I'll get my passport ready. You know, I might not even need a passport. It might be Australia. Who knows? But it is too hot here. I want to move somewhere that's colder. I don't like how hot it is here. I haven't really ever liked that. And so, yeah, start your engines. Thank you. Oh, there's a couple of comments here. President Trump is here as well. And he said, this is huge. And then he said, MAGA. And then he said, on my golden toilet. So, yeah, that could be good. Thank you.